So I'm Marquel Russell, and my superpower is taking what seems like super complicated concepts and then breaking them down real simple so that other people can not only understand them, but apply them. Because I believe that, well, I've read it somewhere, I forget where I read it at, but basically simplicity is genius. And I think with like the traditional education system and so forth, a lot of times things are just made super complicated, almost so that even when something is simplified, we still got to make it more complex because we're used to things being so complex and so challenging. So even if you look at basic math, right? So depending on when you went to school, math was at, okay, here's how you do double-digit math, for example, right? And then even as my kids are going through school, it's like, all right, well, this is how we're learning how to do math. And I'm like, why are they creating new ways to do math if the goal is to get the answer in the shortest time period possible? But a lot of times I think we're making things more complicated just to fill time. So I think one of the things that I've discovered that I'm world class at, and my superpower is like taking something that's super complex and then breaking it down so other individuals can easily, again, understand it and apply it. And I think that works amazing as our company, Client Attraction University, and what we do. And that's why we have so many client success stories, because we've taken what they found to be so complex, learning from all these other resources, and now they come to us. And a lot of times it's challenging for them to wrap their head around the fact that it's this simple because they've been taught that it has to be complex for so long. So that's my superpower. So one of the challenges that was pivotal for me that led me to where I am today is that so basically, just a quick backstory. So I dropped out of high school in 10th grade, so I got an African education. I went straight into the streets, full time, basically. And then while I was doing my thing in the streets, selling drugs and so forth, I eventually started an entertainment company. So I was taking my proceeds from my business that I was running and then started an entertainment label. And then that was going reasonably well. And then I ended up getting introduced to legitimate business. I got introduced to network marketing first. I was actually in the club one night, and then I got introduced to network marketing, which is crazy. And then that, fast forward, led me into online marketing and learning online marketing and eventually teaching people how to use the internet to get clients for their business. So I think the biggest challenge in that, though, was like making the transition, because I was technically my biggest challenge, because it's like, okay, I had to completely transform how I used to think and how I used to operate, because I was exposed to so many different ways of thinking, right? New ways of thinking, because it's like, okay, how do you go from what I'm doing every day now to this legitimate business, and then being able to let go of everything that I was doing? Because when I went into legitimate business, things didn't pop off as fast as I would want them to go. So for example, when I was in network marketing, the biggest sales pitch was like, hey, all you gotta do is get 2 people, and then they'll get 2 people, and they'll get 2 people, and they'll get 2 people, and you've been making millions and driving cars, expensive cars, all this different type of stuff. And like none of that happened the way that they said it was supposed to go. And I ain't blaming nobody, but that's just what it was. And I actually went through what I call this Nipsey Hussle moment, right? So regardless if you're familiar with Nipsey Hussle or not, so basically with Nipsey Hussle, when he started doing music, he was still in the streets, and he was like, I literally had to completely let the streets go and lock in the studio. And he was like, I went like 2 years in the studio just dropping music, putting new music out, but I wasn't making any money because I had to let all my street money go. So I had an identical situation. And then during that time, my girlfriend at the time, who's now my beautiful wife, she actually had to pay all the bills, put gas in the tank. She was a bartender, so she just give me like an allowance every day from the cash tips that she would get. And I used to take that and be buying courses and things of that nature. So just me being able to be broken, I essentially was broken all the way down to be built back up, and then being able to go through that and survive that and come out of that. I think that was my biggest challenge, because I had to create like a whole new identity, and then creating a whole new identity is massively challenging. And I didn't even realize that's what it was until I like looked back and connected all the dots. And I was like, okay, I had to like break down who Marquel used to be, right, and then rebuild a whole new identity based on where I was going and what was in store for me and what I was called to do in this next phase of my life. So I think that was the biggest challenge, like going through that whole transition, where I went from everything going amazing in the world that I was in to be able to let go of everything that I was doing go through like this massive season of drought, basically, to come out and just sowing seeds, and then actually um, experiencing the harvest. So I think the second challenge was like understanding that knowledge actually isn't power. Like I thought that knowledge was power. So when I was buying courses and trainings, learning this new stuff, I actually came from a place of knowledge is power. So the more knowledge I consume, the more powerful. But I realized that applied knowledge is actually what power is. So I was using all my money to buy courses, but I wasn't implementing anything. And that led to me actually going broke. I had to be dependent on by my lady, right? So I had to realize that, okay, knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. And the faster I can consume new knowledge or be introduced to new insights and then actually implement it, that's where the game changes. So those are my two big challenges. So we got so many lessons I've learned over the years. Where should I start? I think one that immediately comes to mind is that being an entrepreneur and being a CEO and business owner is two completely different things. So like when you're starting off your business and you're an entrepreneur, you're doing everything. You're writing your copy, you're doing your social media, you're writing your emails, you're doing your sales calls. You're doing everything typically when you're in the beginning phase. You may bring on an assistant, but most cases you're entrepreneur, you're chief cook, bottle washer, the whole 9 yards, right? And then when you shift into like business owner, again, you got to create like a whole new identity, right? So you got to let go of some of those things. So when you go from doing all the sales calls, doing all the marketing, writing all the copy, doing all the social media, when you shift from doing all those things to more so a leader role, right? You create a whole new identity, and that's challenging because it's like a lot of times we get our significance from like what we do. And if we aren't doing that, then who are we? I think which leads me to my second big lesson is that as you make this transition from just entrepreneur to like CEO business owner, the biggest thing to understand is like you go from being your personal output being the output of the company, or being your personal output being your output, to the output of the team being your output, right? So it's like, how do you become a better leader, right? To lead your team, make sure they have the systems and the playbooks and the processes and so forth, and the trainings and the support to actually produce output. And as you do that, that actually equates to your output. So it's not about like, how do you do more, right? It's like, no, how do you actually do less? Because the more valuable you are to the business, the less valuable the business is, especially if you're looking to grow and scale and sell your business and so forth. Which leads me to another lesson. The third lesson I would say is a well-run business is a boring business. A well-run business is a boring business, which basically means that, again, especially when you're coming from the entrepreneurial grind, especially in this day and age where everybody's like, grind 24/7, work, sleep when you're dead, all this different type of stuff. In reality, that's actually counterproductive. Like always working, always being on is super counterproductive, and it's actually diminishing returns in that. So realizing, okay, how do I make this business as simple as possible? How do I make this business as simple as possible? Streamlining all the systems, streamlining all the processes, focusing on one core product, one system, one enrollment process, or one sales process, depending on your business. And how do you simplify this whole business? Which leads me to another quick lesson, is that typically, especially we mainly work with like coaching and consulting type businesses. So we always advise to them based on our personal experience, because when we first start growing our company, it was like all over the place. Like, we're trying to do this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and we're always busy, right? And we realized this thing called the rule of one, and this really helped us simplify the business. So typically, we always advise our clients, listen, create one premium price offer where you charge $3,000 to $10,000 or more, and then just focus on that one offer to it till you get to at least $1 million a year, right? And then if you want to add something onto it, great. But until then, get you one offer, get you one marketing system, one ad strategy where you can get unlimited leads, one enrollment process so people can buy from you, right? Send out one email a day, and then create one piece of content per day to add more value to the audience, and then give yourself a year And oftentimes that could lead to $1 million, or at least have you on track for $1 million. So those are a handful of my lessons that I've discovered over the past few years.
It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown. I just want to speak to you, the speaker, or maybe not even a speaker, right? Maybe you're not a speaker, but you have a message inside of you that you want to release, or maybe you have a story, right? A story of your life, a story in your career, or maybe as you're listening right now, you're an expert, right? You're an expert at teaching people how to do something. You're an expert at raising kids. And I want you to imagine for a moment that you had an opportunity to share your message or your story on a bigger stage. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment and what that would mean for you if you could reach your target audience. If you're an entrepreneur, if that target audience got associated to the problem that you solve, or if you're a super entrepreneur with sales funnels out there, not only did it get associated to who you were, but they were able to join your list. Now, for other folks, that won't make no sense at all. But for you, the entrepreneur, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I want to invite you over to something called the Comeback Champion Summit. And the whole purpose of the Comeback Champion Summit is really to do one thing, which is one word, and that is possibilities. That's right. When you get a chance to get on stage, you get a chance to do it virtually, and some of you maybe in person, and you get a chance to share your story. So something deep inside of you. I always say your message, because some of you have a message or your expertise. Then guess what happens? 3 things happen. Number 1, you get to make a difference. And isn't that why you are on this earth? I mean, I don't want to get emotional here, but you're really on this earth to make a difference for someone else. Something has happened to you so it can go through you to someone else. And being able to speak on a platform that provides an audience, it's like having a microphone that allows you to help more people faster. So that's number 1. Number 2, when you're on a platform, I'm going to invite you to the Comeback Champion Summit, you get a chance to have more meaning in the world, to have more impact, and to have more influence. And that's really who we're looking for. We're looking for folks out there who have an interest, want, or desire of serving others. So if that's you, I'm going to invite you to go over to www.comebackchampionsummit.com. Again, comebackchampionsummit.com. Click the button. It'll say apply to speak. Go through the process. And if it's a good fit, can't wait to share your story over at the Comeback Champion Summit or any one of our platforms that serves other folks. With that being said, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone, and we'll make some good things happen. We connect again real soon. See you out.
So if I can go back in time to talk to my 21-year-old self, I think the biggest thing I would tell him is that if you've been able to essentially create a life out of selling drugs, you can actually build a multi-million-dollar business, legit business. Because if you can sell drugs, you already have all necessary skills to build a multi-million-dollar business. So for example, you already understand sales, and sales psychology even in many ways. You also understand marketing, because of course, I got to know how to market yourself to get individuals to actually come do business with you and then come do business with you again, which leads to you already understand customer service, because if somebody comes to you and do business with you one time, to get them to come back and do business with you again, it has to be some customer service that was in there to get them to come back. You also understand branding, because individuals know, okay, this person got the better product, right? May cost you a little bit more. This person got not as good of a product, you can get more of it for less. That's branding, right? If you got a team, right, that's part of your organization, we'll call it, you understand some team building already. You already understand how to create culture, right? You already understand leadership, right? Also, you understand critical thinking, because if you don't have some level of critical thinking skills, you won't last long. You can easily find yourself dead, locked up for a very long time, or anything could go wrong. So you got to have some critical thinking skills. Also, you got data and analytics, right? Knowing your numbers, because you got to know, okay, we get this, we go re-up, we get this, and then you break it down and you weigh it all up, and it comes, this what happens, this what happens. So that's knowing the numbers and the metrics around what has to happen in your business to continue to grow revenue. So if you just zoom out for a second and then just look at, okay, here's all the skills that it takes to actually sell drugs, right, and be successful at it. What if you took that same thing, took that same drive? You're also okay with risk, right? And most people want to be entrepreneurs, but they want to be entrepreneurs minus the risk, right? They don't want to risk finances. They don't want to risk time. They don't want to risk anything, right? They don't want to risk what people may say about them when they show up. They don't want to risk how people may view them if they start making more money than they normally make. But you've conquered risk because every single day you wake up and then you go out into the world and you transacting and doing different things. You're actually putting yourself at risk, and you don't know what's going to happen that day. So if you take all those skills, all those abilities, and then you channel that into a legit product, serving a specific audience, solving a specific problem, and you just work on dialing that in, you can actually build something that nobody else can ever take from you while actually having a massive impact on the world at the same time. So what are we up to right now is that to date, we've helped our clients do over $1 billion in revenue, right? And we're also on Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies list as well in the entire United States. So, and a lot of times when I connect with somebody, or we haven't seen each other in a minute, or we connect, the question that I often get is what's new or what's next, right? And to be honest with you, the biggest thing is like not doing anything new, right? So it's basically like, okay, taking what we're doing, figuring out what's working amazingly well, and then going deeper on that, doubling down. Like, okay, what it's more so like if anything was next, it'll be more so shaking off the things that aren't working, right? And then doubling down on the things that are. Shaking off anybody who's connected to us that's not beneficial for the mission. So our main thing is like, number one, it's like focusing in on, okay, how do we potentially simplify our process even more to help our clients get results even faster and even bigger results, and simplifying that whole process to create more success stories. Because we have 11 principles as a company. The number one principle is client obsession. So getting our clients crazy results. So it's like, how do we get our clients amazing results while still empowering them to build businesses that make the world a better place at the same time? So figuring out, dialing that in even more. And then in terms of what's next, is just really dialing in the process, systemizing the process even more, creating more success stories. Because at the end of the day, if we aren't creating success stories, we're not staying true to our number one principle. So the biggest thing, just to recap, is number one is systemizing what we're currently doing. And then what's next is continuing to double down on that and really go deeper on that so we can actually create more success stories in the shortest time period possible, because our mission is to help 1 million Black coaches add an extra $1 million to their annual revenue, which will in turn be $1 trillion added to the Black community. So looking at how do we do that in a more streamlined fashion? How do we systemize that process so we can help those million get to that extra million and then continue to compound on that effect? So clients typically hire us when they're ready to actually get results, right? So a lot of times our best clients end up being those individuals. They've been through these other programs, they've been to these other events, they've been through these other courses, and they realize that the majority of the stuff out there is just fluff, right? And it's just overhyped and oversold, right? So they typically come to us when they're like, okay, I've tried the rest, but now I'm ready for the best to actually get me results minus all the fluff. So they come to us and they're like, okay, I'm ready, I done did this, I done did that. Now I'm clear, here's where I am, and here's where I'm looking to go. And then we're able to lay out the exact process based on where they are. So like if a business owner is new, right, and they haven't gone through some of the other programs, so they haven't gone through some of the other courses or some of the other events, and they haven't really like been beat up a little bit, right, so to speak, in this space. A lot of times they can't really appreciate what we do. So they got to go around and get like abused a little bit basically before they can actually appreciate what we bring to the table. Because now they realize, okay, this is what it really takes to build a business, not only to generate revenue and generate profits, but also grow as a person, to grow as an entrepreneur, and also build something sustainable. Because we always tell businesses, it's like, when somebody says, okay, how much can I make in 30 days? Like, that's the wrong question. How much can I make in 90 days? That's the wrong question. I mean, can you make money in 30 days? Can you make money in 90 days? 100%. I think a better question, though, is how do I build a business that's sustainable, right? Profitable. I got consistency and predictability. And I don't have to deal with the revenue roller coaster. Like, some months it'll be great. Some months you're like, what happened? Then you have a few months of like, okay, what's going on? And then you have another pop month because you ran some type of promotion or you did some type of launch. And then now you're like, okay, what happened? And now you're kind of going through that roller coaster over and over and over and over again. So they typically come to us when they're like, I want sustainability. I want profitability, obviously. I want consistency and I want predictability. And I want to get there in the shortest time period possible. Because it's this quote that says, the fastest way from one point to another point is a straight line, right? So we actually give clients the straight line approach, the straight line method to go from where they are to where they want to be without having to do all the unnecessary stuff. So I think the biggest thing that I've enjoyed most about this experience at the Making of an Entrepreneur shoot is that this is a really unique, cool way to like get my message out in a way where you still can get the same message out, but just in a different format, which I think is really cool. Another thing is like how the whole process is going. Like Shay and the team has the thing really like thought out. I mean, all the way to before we even got here. Like, so that was really cool. It's like I always tell clients, like, you gotta be following up. Like if your people don't hear from you, like you're not top of mind. So I think 2 months ago, since we agreed to do this, we've gotten an email, I think, every week. It's like, hey, X amount of days away. Here's what you need to submit. If you've done this already, don't worry about it. We'll see you in X amount of days. And then we'll get another email. Hey, touching base with you. X amount of days away. So it's like literally a countdown. Like, here's the things to do. Here's what we require. If you require makeup, unfortunately, I didn't require makeup. So that was cool. But really just the whole process, it was thought out from the email, from getting here, then actually getting here. The whole process just went smoothly. The questions already, the layout, the team, the equipment, everything was like super smooth. And Shay has always been a real solid brother. Like I don't really connect with a lot of people in this space. I kind of stay in like my little bubble, right? But Shay is one of those brothers who's always been solid since day one. An upstanding individual, always high energy, always looking to serve. So it's been an absolute amazing experience, from agreeing to do it to the emails every week and the text to getting here, and then the whole process flowing smoothly since we've been here as well.
Thank you so much for watching the Making of an Entrepreneur DocuSeries. I just want to take a moment to talk to you. That's right, you that's watching right now. You the mom, or maybe you're the dad, or maybe you're an entrepreneur, or perhaps you're an auntie or uncle, but you're someone out there that has a heart to give, you have a heart to serve, and as you're watching this Making of an Entrepreneur DocuSeries, you may be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, I've had some life lessons, I've had some setbacks, I've had some experiences, I've gone through some things that have helped me become a better person, and I want to take that and I want to release that to other folks. Okay. Maybe you're a speaker and you're already doing it. Maybe you've written books and you've already done that. Or maybe the story that's inside of you, the expertise that's inside of you, the message inside of you, this is the right platform for you to make a bigger difference and a bigger impact in the world. Now, this whole Making of an Entrepreneur DocuSeries, if you had to sum it up in just one word, and it's kind of hard to do that, but as I'm talking to you and you're listening right now, you might be saying, Shay, what's the one word? And the one word I would say is just legacy. Legacy. There's a legacy I understand that you want to leave for your family, and I get that. but there's also a legacy of your knowledge. There's a legacy of your expertise. And think about this. You're able to share your message or share your story or share your expertise. And long after you're gone, they still have a window into the soul of who you are and the impact that leaves behind. If that's you and you someone that's want to get the information, you're someone that's ready to do something bigger than just your business and bigger than just making more money, but you want to have more meaning in the world, do me a favor. Go over to www.themakingofanontrepreneurDocuSeries.com. I know that's a long email, a long address, but I want you to hear it again one more time. themakingofanoentrepreneur.com. Now, when you get there, just put your first name and your last name and your phone number and information in there. Worst case scenario, you have a meeting with the team and decide, hey, me being a cast member, this isn't a good fit, but I had a lot of fun. Best case scenario, you decide to take a step. Folks understand your backstory, understand what you've been through, and the world is much better off while you're here. And when the day comes and you decide to transition and move on, it's still doing very, very well. So with that being said, I just want to pop in. Thanks a lot for watching the Making of an Entrepreneur series. My name is Shay Brown. I want to encourage you to continue to watch, and I'll see you at the next episode. God bless.